I gave my late husband's estate to a stranger instead of our kids. I have been married to my husband for 20 years before he died. It was cancer. He had two kids from a past marriage who were in their early teens when he married me. I had a 7 years old from an earlier relationship as well. We didn't have any more kids. I tried to treat my stepchildren as my own, but they never accepted me. They were very rude and insulted me whenever they could. Since I don't not work, they called me a gold digger who married their dad only for his money. The truth was, my grandparents were quite wealthy and left me a lot of money when they died. I lived well below my means and chose to stay home and raise my daughter, since I could afford that. I did not need his money at all, but I didn't bother sharing this with the kids and told him not to either. I didn't want them to like me just because they might gain monetarily from me. My husband, on the other hand, hated how they behaved with me. Their blatant disrespect made him not pay for their college tuition. Their mom couldn't pay for it, and they had to take loans for it. They didn't even talk to him. Even when he got cancer, they refused to come see him. For 3 years, we struggled with the treatment. My daughter came to visit from time to time when she could. During this time, only person who really helped both of us was someone we were not related to at all. This girl, in her late 20s, waitress at the cafe we frequented. She was a single mom taking classes at community college at night, working during the day, and raising her two kids. She took a liking to us, and when she learned my husband was sick, spent whatever time she could visiting him. She has stayed nights at the hospital when I needed a break and basically been the daughter we wished for. When he died, she helped me arrange the funeral. His kids come on the day and all they wanted to know was about their inheritance. I felt sick when I learned my husband has left his estate to me, whatever is left after setting his bills, and it was around $25,000. I needed to give it to the girl who helped us both so much. She tried to refuse, but I insisted she take it. She needed it and in my opinion deserved it more than the ungrateful children. My daughter understands why I don't not give it to his children, but is upset I did not give anything to her either. I told her she already had money and a job, not to mention she will get my inheritance. This was in no way her money, but his ex-wife and his kids are causing havoc over this and really upset me. They said I'm a bad person for giving away money they deserve. They don't deserve the money. They want the money. There is a difference. I just went to no contact with my parents, literally 2-3 days ago. I know the odds, and they will cut me out of their will. I'm 100% okay with it. Being free of their toxicity is 100% worth giving up what money they may give me. In all honesty, I don't know how I will feel if they do leave me money in their will. Do I even want to accept it? I honestly don't know. Taking the money won't fix the damage they caused. His adult children made choices in life. But now that he's gone, now that all of it is said and done, now that they are demanding money, I will look at them and say, aren't you quite the gold diggers? You know your dad never funded things for me. I was wealthy on my own. That's why it didn't work. I didn't need the money. Yay, congrats. I've been NC for a few years and I didn't even think about inheritance or lack of one until a friend brought it up. Agreed, they are trying to have their cake and eat it too. Also, estranged from my dad. Welcome to the club. Glad you're free from the toxicity. Also, don't expect I will inherit anything and I'm totally fine with that. Same here. No contact with my toxic mother for 8 years. I expect nothing when she dies, and I don't even expect to be told she's died. This is a dilemma I have thought about. I went NC with my parents over 20 years ago, and that time I told them I want no part of anything, including an inheritance. Just give it all to my brother, I don't want it. If they do leave me something or die without a will, then anything that comes to me will go to my kids 50-50. They had to grow up without grandparents, so this is one good thing that will come from it, if it does happen. Cut both of mine off years ago. 18 years ago for my mother, 15 for my father. Not that they have jogged shittily for their kids, but the peace I get from having nothing to do with them is worth far more than if they did by some miracle have inheritance to leave. You're not the bad person. First of all, an estate of 25K is very small. It's not the size of an estate that people even normally ask about or fight over. It surprised me that your child and your stepchildren were expecting some windfall when your husband's total net worth was 25K. Were they under the impression that your husband had money? If your husband wanted his kids or your kids to have his estate, he would have left it to them, but he wanted you to have it, and you were well within your right and the moral high ground to give it to someone who made an influence in your life and for whom it may be a life-changing gift. You'll be surprised how many people fight about money, even if it's smaller amount like 25K. They are fighting over 8K, not 25K. If the siblings got what they want, the 25K had to be divided at least 3 ways. That's the monetary value of this money. It will never be 25K in its totality if the siblings got the money. 25K could change the trajectory of my life completely. Your idea of a small estate is someone else's. This means I stop trading water or relax, even when split 3 ways. If you are accused of being a gold digger, then I think it's reasonable to assume you married someone who will leave an estate larger than 25K. That's not gold digger money. They might have thought it was more, and it might have been more before cancer. Chemo, hospital stays, etc. are not cheap at all, and often not covered fully by insurance. But to echo the sentiments of many people fight over money, no matter how big or small. You're not the bad person. 25K might make all the difference to a single mom working a waitressing job, but it's not going to change the life of already well-off kids, particularly split all those ways. Are those kids well-off? Their mom doesn't have money and they have loans to pay back from college. Sounds like they enjoyed a wealthy childhood, but their late dad cut them off financially long before they reached adulthood. Did they have a wealthy childhood? Even with cancer, a wealthy person would end up with 25K remaining at the age of 60. Something in this story doesn't add up. You've not read all the stories in Reddit where the American healthcare system bankrupted people, it seems. I think you and your husband didn't do a great job for integrating families, and then blame his kids for not accepting you. It sounds like they probably parroted when they heard elsewhere, and he and you did nothing to make that better. His relationship with them sounds very transactional. He refused to pay for college because he was angry. They pulled back. I'm not saying he should have ignored it, but your description of his kids as money grabbing while not seeing your own daughter that way despite her argument that she shouldn't have gotten his money gives a negative picture of your attitudes towards them. So while you're the bad person for giving money to the young woman who supported you both, I do think your husband are blamed for this family dynamic in the first place. I could have cleared up a reasonable if small-minded misconception my stepkids had about me as young teenagers, but I refused, leading to the destruction of husband's relationship with his kids. But as that wasn't enough, I got an even more petty revenge years later after he died. Aren't I sweet? No, you're the bad person. There were kids to young adults, but you were the adult. You could have handled this better in 1,000 ways. Instead of being towardly dime store Cersei Lannister gross. I've got my own money for my family. Your father isn't worth that much. Isn't something a step-parent needed to tell the kids. They're not entitled to her financial situation, and making fun of her with the gold digger comments is uncalled for. Parents forget that the relationship they have with the kids is the one they make. I'm sure integrating families was hard, but had it been done with the kids in mind, things might have not needed to be this way. You're not the bad person for rewarding the person that helped you, but if you point on them and the family dynamic, I think lack self-reflection on both you and your late husband's part. Oh, I'm sorry for your loss. Well, the bottom line is that he wrote that will. They could be angry with him, not you for that. You are the bad person. They were angry teenagers, and you could have easily proved to them that they were totally incorrect about what you were with their father. Instead, your choice allowed their resentment to fester. I get why you did it, but it wasn't the right choice. It was like, I know why the kids don't like me. It's a fair reason to. I can prove that's not the case, but